What's up, Tailgaters? You're in the booth with Tailgate Nate today, and with it being as loaded a week one slate as it is, which is per usual in the college football world, I want to go through and talk about some weekday games that have me really excited. This video is going to talk about Thursday and Friday matchups that get me ready for college football and a full slate of action on Saturday. Also got games Sunday and Monday there as well. It's a loaded slate in week one. We'll have another video out previewing those Saturday, Sunday, Monday games, the extra ones that don't already have an individual video up on my channel. Speaking of which, 3 top 10 matchups. They all have individual videos up on my channel. Breaking it down farther, suggest you go watch those out if you're interested in how those top 10 matchups might play out. My name is Nate Pope, otherwise known as Tailgate Nate. I'm a sports media graduate with a massive passion for everything going on in the sports world, and especially the world of college football, as well as going to watch those other videos, guys. You can also support me. Hit the subscribe button, ring the bell so you're locked into everything going on this college football season. And if you want to support me on a more personal note, get to know me better and follow along in my journey to reach as high as I can in the professional world of sports media, go follow me on social media, Tailgate Nate 29, Twitter, Instagram, wherever you get social media news. We got 3 games on Thursday, as well as just a talking point I'd like to discuss. 2 games Friday. Let's quickly break down why I have the scores that I do. So Boise State and South Florida. This one is going to kick everything off in this week one. 5:30 on ESPN. That's Eastern Standard Time. As of recording this video, Boise State is the near 6-point favorite. It's 5.5 is the line right now. This is the Boise State team that I still like a lot, and I obviously do have them winning this game. But this is the South Florida team, guys, that is not going to go away by any stretch. Byron Brown, he is going to be a fascinating quarterback to watch this year for South Florida. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in G5, and he's going to help keep them in this game. With Boise State, you have the question mark of, okay, what is Sire Gaines going to be in the running back room now that Ashton Genty has moved along? What wide receiver pieces are going to step up to help out Maddox Madsen, so on and so forth. I think this is a hard-fought, really nicely contested battle between 2 Group of 5 teams that probably are going to sit towards the top of their respective conferences. I just think Boise State's better. I think with everything they have coming back in that secondary, they're going to be able to slow down what Byron Brown and the South Florida offense are going to want to try to do. I also think their offense, a little bit more upside. Again, you have an experienced quarterback in Maddox Madsen. Sire Gaines is still going to be a good running back for you. But to me, that defense at Boise State, especially in the back end with that secondary, is what elevates me over the top. They are going to get a real test today. Boise State is going to be tested, and it really is not going to surprise me to see them drop this game. However, I still think, until proven otherwise, that Boise State is the most talented and therefore best team in the Group of 5 realm. And I'm going to have to go with the Broncos until, again, I get proven otherwise. So 24-20 is the way that I got sorting that one out. By the way, we are keeping track. Don't know if I said this earlier. In case I didn't, we are keeping track of every game that I predict this college football season, just as we did last year. This year, I'm sitting at 4-1. One game I got wrong in week 0 was Iowa State, Kansas State. Okay, let's move on here. Let's show love to another Group of 5 team, but they play a Power 4 side. East Carolina going on the road to take on NC State. 7 o'clock game on the ACC network. This one also fascinates me because NC State is favored by over 2 touchdowns, 14 and a half. To me, I think East Carolina has got a lot of pieces here necessary to be able to compete. And this is a North Carolina State team, NC State team that was up and down last year and just not overall playing with the same defensive intensity that we are used to seeing out of groups led by Dayton. Back to East Carolina for a second. I think they got some really, really nice pieces that probably are going to have to be a little bit special here in this game. Talking about Caton Hauser at quarterback. If this is an NC State defense that has not taken a step forward, especially in that secondary, what can Caton Hauser and his weapons like Anthony and Yannick Smith, I don't know if they are related, and some of these other really experienced, really talented wide receivers at East Carolina going to be able to do to this secondary? I think that's a big key. You can also look for London Montgomery. He could have a big game. That's the running back over there at East Carolina. Marlon Gunn, Parker Jenkins, and some others you might see featured as well. And I really like a lot of pieces on this East Carolina defense. Sure, they might not be as talented as they were last year. You lose Revel, that outstanding corner. Didn't have a super huge impact last year, but again, you can't deny the upside that he had. I still like a lot of these secondary pieces, but I'm leaning towards the NC State Wolfpack. I think East Carolina is going to give the Wolfpack a fight. I think they're going to make this one really close, but I am going to favor the home side here in this matchup. I just can't see a reason why that defense does not take a step forward in the right direction this year. I do like CJ Bailey. I've heard nice things about his progression here throughout camp. Think he's going to end up being a good quarterback for NC State this year. Hollywood Smothers, I think he's a good back. And overall, this is an offense that is very inexperienced. A lot of sophomores, coincidentally enough, that are going to be starting here, but you're behind an experienced offensive line, and I don't think the East Carolina pass rush is going to be able to get home as often as it would like to. And again, I just can't see a reason why this defense doesn't at least take a small step forward, and it'll help them a lot here in this one against East Carolina. 27-21, I think the Wolfpack in a tense battle get this one done and edge out the Pirates, who again have the potential to be a sleeper in the American Athletic. Probably the biggest game happening today is this one. Cincinnati at Nebraska. Okay, not at Nebraska. These two teams are actually going to end up playing there in Arrowhead Stadium. And I think technically Cincinnati is the home team. That's the way it's listed, at least on the on pretty much every scoreboard I'm seeing. Regardless, though, you're going to get a battle, I think, of two pretty impressive teams. I just see a lot more worlds where Nebraska wins this game. And quite frankly, I think they're the more talented team. They're only favored by 6.5 here. I think Nebraska is going to end up covering that spread. I really like the Huskers this year. I think Matt Rule in year 3, what he did at Temple and Baylor in the third year at both of those programs, I don't necessarily know if Nebraska is going to explode like that, like they did at Temple and Baylor under Rule, but I think the Huskers are going to be a very good team, and Dylan Raiola is going to take a step forward, and the wide receiver room, I think, is very underrated. You look at Emmett Johnson in the backfield, chef's kiss. I think he's fantastic. And that black shirt defense has a lot of potential to, while it is losing defensive coordinator from last year, bringing in a new face with Tony White being gone, I think this is a defense that still is going to be very well coached. And it's an offense that definitely is going to be much better coached than it was last year. And I think you really see that reflect out on the field. Cincinnati's going to be a solid team this year. I like Brendan Sorsby at quarterback. They got one of the best interior defensive linemen in the country in Dante Corleone that I think can really wreak some havoc on this Husker offensive front. I think the Huskers make quite the jump this year, and Dylan Raiola going to be able to get that thing done. Huskers potentially pull away late. Either way, I think they get a pretty comfortable win here. 30-17 is the score that I'll end up sliding with. I know, little odd. You can go 31-17. Doesn't matter too much to me. Before we dive into these two Friday games that I'm really intrigued to watch, I want to note something about this Thursday slate. It's a busier Thursday slate than it will be on Friday, especially in terms of the magnitude of these games. You got games like Jack State UCF, which I'm also interested to watch tonight, and some of the other matchups here as well between some of the two group of 5 teams. But there are 3 matchups where Mid-American Conference teams are going on the road to play a team out of the Big Ten, and I think every Big Ten team that a MAC team is faced up with this week is vulnerable. So let's start with the one that is going to be, looks like the second or third game to kick off here. Ohio is going on the road to take on Rutgers. I think Ohio's going to be one of the best teams in the MAC this year, and who knows what the Rutgers run game is going to look like now that Kyle Monangai has moved on, and you lose some really impressive defensive pieces. Ohio's got Parker Navarro. C.A. Bangura has come back. The wide receiver room, I think, is still going to be really good, and the defense, don't really see a reason why it can't be one of the better units in the Mid-American Conference. Even though Tim Albin has moved on and you're trying to establish a new system, Ohio is getting 15.5 as the underdog on the road at Rutgers. I really like their chances to pull the upset up outright. I really think that Ohio's got the pieces necessary to be able to handle Rutgers, as I think the other 2 Mid-American Conference teams do as well. Again, not an official prediction, but I think it'll be an interesting matchup to watch. Same thing with these other two. Buffalo, they're also supposed to be one of the best teams in the Mid-American Conference this year, and they get a lot coming back. Aljay Henderson in that running back room, Victor Snow in that wide receiver room, and you probably get an upgrade at the quarterback position. When Daquan Roberson steps in there, you got probably one of the best defenses in the Mid-American Conference this year, at the very least in that front six, front seven. They go on the road to take on Minnesota. Now, Minnesota might very well be the safest team here just because of the style of football that they play. But if Buffalo turns this thing into a shootout and this offense proves to be a wagon for the Bulls, Minnesota not a team that I think is going to be rearing and ready to go offensively and just be able to keep up with that shootout mentality, right? They're a physical team. They want to grind a game out, be able to beat you on the ground with their phenomenal running back in Darius Taylor. I didn't say it earlier. I still think Rutgers going to pull out the win. I still think Minnesota going to pull out the win. But man, this Buffalo team is tough. And if you're someone that likes to look at the odds market there, 17.5 is what Buffalo is getting on the road. Not telling you what to do with your money, but I really like that number for the Buffalo Bulls. I think they can compete with Minnesota. And then probably the most interesting one here, Miami, Ohio getting 18.5 as an underdog on the road against Wisconsin. And who knows what this Badger team is going to be this year. They've been seemingly very vulnerable over the past couple of seasons and just have not been up to standard for what Luke Fickell would like, and especially what the Badger faithful would like. This is a big season for him. This is a big season for this Wisconsin program. And you have a game against Alabama in the non-con slate. You have a really, really tough conference slate there as well, especially a brutal month of October. And if you drop this first one to Miami, Ohio, yeesh, that is just not going to bode well for the feels and the vibes surrounding Madison, Wisconsin, and Camp Randall Stadium. However, I will say this, Miami, Ohio's got a lot to replace, albeit I think they're still one of the best coach teams in the conference with Chuck Martin, and I think they got all the pieces necessary with the pedigree in that program to be able to pull off a win like this. Now, again, I think all three Big Ten teams are going to be safe tonight. I think they pull out those wins, but you have to watch out for really each of those three matchups. I seriously would maybe not consider the upset outright, but man, at the very least, those spreads, I like those numbers a lot for these MAC schools. And I think Ohio's really good. I think Miami, Ohio, probably going to end up being really good. I think Buffalo, probably going to end up being pretty good in terms of where they sit in the Mid-American Conference. And you're going up against some vulnerable Big Ten teams. If they can exploit them, watch out for a MAC upset. There very well could be some early MACtion chaos this season. But let's move on to these two games that are taking place on Friday. Georgia Tech and Colorado. Depending on who you ask, it's going to determine their answer on the question of, okay, what's the game you have the bigger eye on Friday? Some people might say Georgia Tech, Colorado. Other people might say Auburn and Baylor. For me personally, it's this second one right here. But we'll get there when we get there. Let's talk about Georgia Tech and Colorado. It is obvious that Colorado lost a ton of talent. 8 o'clock game on ESPN, by the way. Water break. But you're going to be replacing that talent with really some pretty good pieces, especially at the quarterback position. I believe Caden Salter ended up getting that starting job there, so he will start on Friday against Georgia Tech. And Colorado's got some good skill position pieces still there, but there are a lot of keys here in this game and a lot of ways that Georgia Tech likes to dictate the pace of play that just are not what Colorado has been strong in over the past 2 years under Deion Sanders. And that's physicality, line of scrimmage play, being able to run the ball in various different ways. That's not Colorado's strength. Now, with Caden Salter at the helm, you probably see a little bit more of a quarterback run game, but man, that offensive line just needs to take some massive steps this year. You're taking a look at that run game as a whole. Running backs have got to put up some more production for you, and Caden Salter's not a quarterback that's going to sit in the pocket lightly and air these balls out like Shedeur Sanders did, right? Nobody is going to fill in the shoes for Travis Hunter. We know that. And some solid pieces are still here, and they enter in through the portal. But to me, Georgia Tech, I think, is too big, too physical, and I think that their style of football easily plays in to what Colorado plays, and it favors Georgia Tech absolutely. Jamal Haynes is back. Haynes King is back. You get some really good wide receiver pieces back even though, again, you do lose some really nice ones there to the transfer portal. I believe he even got a really big time transfer to come in to this Yellow Jacket program as well. You did in Eric Rivers. He is going to be slotting in over from FIU to be, I think, a star here with this Georgia Tech team. And I mean, physicality, name of the game on defense. They're just not going to let Colorado do much of anything in that run game. And I think the Yellow Jacket secondary, while probably not at the elite level, it's going to be pretty good this year. And I think it can lock down this Colorado pass game. Yellow Jackets win in Boulder 27-16. This is the one that I'm watching in the weekday slate. There's obviously a ton of games I'm watching Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, but this one in the weekday slate is really catching my eye. Auburn at Baylor, night game in Waco. I think it's going to be a really fascinating game. Now, Baylor did just get some really unfortunate news. And not just get. We've known this for quite a bit, but Baylor is going to end up being without a really, really good piece in the running back room. Let me fact check. Apologies, had to remember which one, and it was the name I thought. Dawson Pendergrass is having foot surgery. He's out for the entirety of the season, which leaves Bryson Washington on that island. Fantasy college football users, I think you're going to like Bryson Washington this year. And you got Sawyer Robertson back. You have Ashton Hawkins' eligibility reinstated. Guys, this Auburn team has one of the best wide receiver rooms in the entire country, and I think they really can handle what the Baylor defense is going to be throwing at them. It could be a little bit of a higher scoring game than I'm predicting, but a question for me with Auburn is, look, what does Jackson Arnold look like, and how is Jackson Arnold going to play? What is he improved upon, right? What has he seemingly gotten better at this season? We'll see if it's much of anything. We'll see if it's nothing at all. I find it really hard to believe that he does not take a massive step forward. And maybe he is still not fantastic. Maybe he's still not the recruit that everybody hyped him up to be coming out of high school, but he's going to make some improvements and he's going to get better. And with that wide receiver room, this Baylor secondary has their work cut out for him. However, I like this Baylor offense a lot. And I think even without Dawson Pendergrass, Bryson Washington going to be able to carry that run game. I really like Sawyer Robertson and this wide receiver room, and I think the defense can hold its own at points here. Auburn is going to score some points. I think they got too dangerous of a wide receiver room and a potential pass game to not. But I think the Baylor defense maybe forces that extra turnover, depending on, again, whatever happens. Bounce of the ball goes their way. I do think Baylor at this point a little bit more equipped to handle this environment and this atmosphere in Waco. They obviously are the home team. And as of right now, I just lean on the side of Baylor. I think Auburn's got a lot of talent, but to me, that's an Auburn team that's going to start to figure it out as the season goes along. I think Baylor is more week one ready, and they're going to put that product on the field. They beat the SEC team at home 31-24. So we'll keep track of all 5 of these games. No official predictions from the Big Ten MAC, but I did want to make you aware that's an upset watch for me. I really would be watching that, and come back tomorrow when we preview some of the other bigger matchups that are going to be happening Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Lots of action to break down in college football. Enjoy your weekday slate. Remember to play hard but tailgate harder, and I'll see all you guys in the next video. Goodbye.